by becoming rich.
Take all your money, buy Bitcoin.
I say when we
You can
sell.
wake up every morning and say GM.
GM. Today is Saturday, 24th of August. Daily levels. Let's go. So, Bitcoin had a very nice breakout in the end of Friday's session, with the daily bands turning green and an impulse candle higher, and probably sets up a move further up into resistance. You can see some of the monthly levels here. Got through May's monthly open, which you don't really need. I'll just use the last three. Through July's monthly open, and right up into August, so this month. So we came back to almost having a green month, briefly did, and we're back down below it and consolidating now. Nice breakout yesterday. The reasons, people love reasons, right? Why? Combination of factors. Obviously, people will always... So, it's interesting, right? People don't want to say the reason why Bitcoin is breaking out is because it had consolidated for 2 weeks and compressed near the highs, forming two inside days. If you remember, I was talking about this yesterday. And then broke out, so the supply-demand balance flipped in favor of bulls. Shorts had the cover. There was a squeeze higher. Broke out. People don't like that. What people want to hear on Twitter and on YouTube is it's because of Robert F. Kennedy supporting Trump, and it's because of, whatever else reasons. So, of course, the actual reason is purely based on the flows and on the chart. And like I said a while ago, Bitcoin can go to 70. Technically, Bitcoin can go to 74k without anything new happening. We were there in March, right? We don't need any new catalyst to go back to levels we were at 6 months ago. And certainly we don't need any catalyst to go back to 69, which we were there a month ago, less than a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And that's the answer, right? Not as sexy as people want, but that's it. It's all that matters. And so where do we go from here is now what everybody wants to know. And I think we go higher. I got long yesterday with pretty fortunate timing, to be honest. Caught the breakout as it was happening. It was giving signs of a valid breakout, which I'll break down on Trade of the Day and map out some future paths and entries. There is obviously a chance that this goes back down and reverses. I would be less concerned about that based on how price did build its way through the range, did consolidate, did squeeze at the highs, and then broke out. I think that will give us opportunity to run further. Now, there has been a big shift. The market's so bullish, meaning people are so quick to turn bullish again because everyone's still of the opinion, of the belief that this bull market's let's go, we're still going higher, it's not over, we've got another year to go and it's still only 2024 and we've got all of next year. And so people will rush back into longs if they weren't in them. Altcoins will rally. And altcoins, some of the alts are actually pretty good indicators at the moment that we should be able to go higher. If you're looking at like Pepe would still be at risk, I would say, of having a bearish path, right? A lot of times this move up and then down. So obviously there's one of the paths for Pepe that it could go higher, but I'm going to get rid of all that. Pepe had a breakout, but just about. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Pepe do something like this and have one of these sideways chops that actually ends up going lower. But you look at some others that were more beaten down. I think Say in particular, coins like this. These are pretty valid breakouts at this point, right? Moved up, pulled back, consolidated, higher low, pushing up. And the expectation here would be, of course, it will probably push up into resistance. It'll probably find resistance, but it should come back and hold and be able to build into some kind of a sideways consolidation here and spend some time pushing into it and then break out from it. So I still think we're weeks away from many of these building into their bigger moves. Of course, if we get a strong squeeze that moves from here, and Render is another one that's on top of my mind because I was talking about it on here we go, on the altcoin request stream. Render's moving exactly like you would want it to move if it was going to be a bullish breakout, where it's broken out, it's reclaiming this old, basically the previous resistance that it broke out from. We lost it, we're back inside it, we're testing this resistance, so there could be a pullback somewhere in here, but you'd expect that it should make a higher low from there. And again, I think it's going to be really simple here in terms of my expectation of what happens next is we move up, right? People were certainly not long render, on balance. People were still a bit hesitant when it's consolidating here. Oh, this is bad, it's going to break down. Then move up it goes. Shit, we need to get long. Tops out a little bit, pulls back, and then it goes again. It's probably some of these pullbacks coming. Like, I think something like that's probably going to come because people will be scrambling over the next few days to try and get themselves long, thinking that they're going to miss it again. It's that classic FOMO. And so I would still say there's plenty of time. Now, in the near term, what quite often happens is, people are expecting these kind of pullbacks and then they don't come and it goes further. And you could even see, if we take total 3 as an example, as long as it stays above this level here, which is the breakout point, it can go higher and higher and higher and higher. And then, shit, we have to get in, and then it pulls back. And then you see a proper higher low form, and then you can move on later. If the market is able to do that, if it's actually able to break structure in a bullish sense, that's a very good move, very good sign. What would that do to Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is now back inside this old value area that I've talked so much about over the past few months. So we come up to the value area low from March to July. We've now impulsed through the old point of control as well, and right up to actually a previous NFP level. So if you remember from the Friday where I actually sold my Bitcoin, we had the NFP numbers come out here, and price initially moved higher and then nuked down, and we hadn't retested that level. So on low time frames, we have now retested that. That has been our current top, the place where we found resistance, which is logical, makes complete sense of why you would find resistance there. And I think that the way I would view this now is if you zoom out to a monthly, you've got Bitcoin putting in a pretty crazy monthly candle, and there's not really, you don't really see monthly reversals like this. Now, what are we on, 24th? There's still a week left. You've still got 7 days left before this closes, so this could close green, it could close red, it could close right where it is. Assuming it closes somewhere around here or higher, I expect that September's candle will have a down wick, right? It will have some kind of move down, which probably is your best dip to buy if you are bullish and if you think this whole thing's going higher. If we go over and look at that, how could that actually map itself out? I want to get a fresh chart here. This is definitely not fresh. Do I need any of this shit? Local swing high, August monthly open. Let me zoom in here. Do I need this? That's my long trade. It did hit the original target. I haven't taken profit. I'll talk about that again. Trade of the day. We got an impulse breakout on the 4 hour, and I don't need any of that. Get rid of that for now. So, what would I be looking at? There's plenty of gaps above. There's still some untested areas. Most notably, there's a order block there, but we're just looking at less so the order block and just more the untested breakdown, which I see here. If this can there we go. That area, which is just above 65.7, so basically touching 66 and pushing into that level there, that's an untested area. Of course, above that we have some stops that weren't touched off, so that can be touched and cleaned up. And of course we have this. You have the very top, if you're looking at the order block, but most notably to me is this move from Monday, sorry, where at the start of the week we dumped straight down and left this big gap. And there's this big untested area in between. So basically anything in between there. You've got the two order blocks in green, but you have this whole area which is due for some kind of retest, and most, I would say, is the most probable area for some kind of local top to form, where price finds resistance there, and we go into resistance again, and everyone gets super fucking bullish, and then we drop back. Wherever that goes to, we'll see. It depends on the nature, how it pushes into it. I think currently the market is going to squeeze higher. I'll talk about that in a second. But if we're looking at September, I think here the momentum we have is probably going to continue to carry us higher, and we maybe finish the end of the month somewhere around here. So I might push up into it and chop around here. And at the start of the month, you likely see maybe a move up, then a move down, puts in your low for September, sometime early in the month, and then we continue to move up and grind higher towards a breakout, if this is going to be a positive shift in the market. That will be where your big monthly candle closes strong, sees a wick down September, and then away it goes. It maybe comes back as far as here. That'll be like a fill-in of this gap. Maybe it doesn't. Gaps can get left behind in these strong moves, but you should always expect that if it falls back into them, it will fill them, and it will retest, as that's the nature of how markets move, and give some kind of retest before higher. Now, the reason why I think we go higher in the immediate sense is that when you have a lengthy consolidations with 2 week, nice 2 week compression, then it breaks out, and it breaks out with impulse, and it closes high, and it closes well above 62.8, closed above 64. That's as close to a valid breakout as you can get, and that should equal immediate continuation for 2 reasons. And I mentioned this last night in trading analysis. Main reasons are, number one, you have a lot of people who are betting short that now have to close. It's a misconception that shorts get wrecked. So high leverage shorts get wrecked on that first push. But there are directional bets. And this isn't all bears. This could be hedging. This could be big players who've hedged. They've shorted Bitcoin, shorted the futures, perpetual or dated futures. They could be also having buying protection on options, right? Puts that they want to now, well, they're obviously going to probably expire worthless. And people want to close their shorts, whether it's retail, dumb money, whether it's smart money, big players, whether they're directionally betting short or just hedging, it doesn't matter. Shorts are shorts. And in having to close those, that is buying pressure. That's how you close a short. You close a short by buying it back. Second type are people who are sidelined or under allocated. That can be, again, this could be everything from your smart player who sold the top and hasn't had the confidence to get back in yet, and now they do. They've seen all of this destruction happening, and now they've said, okay, breaking out from this consolidation is a sign to reallocate. I want to get long Bitcoin as we go towards the highs, expecting a strong end of the year. All the way to people who were never allocated, they want to allocate now, some newer, bigger players, and just a whole bunch of people who had their invalidation or their area to get in as being above here, so they can get long. So you can have new longs opening, either spot or futures. You can have shorts closing, and whether it's hedges or directional shorts. And all of that is guaranteed demand. That is all guaranteed. Everything I just said is buying pressure. Now, the question you'd have to ask yourself, is there going to be an equal and opposite selling force, or an overwhelming selling force, or a weaker selling force? Right? For every buyer, there's a seller. Like for every buy order, there's a sell order. But it's about the balance, the aggression. The aggression currently is to the upside. Bulls are in control. With the people who are reallocating, closing hedges, adding more, new entrants, sideline capital, whatever you want to call it, where's the sellers going to come from? You have 2 types of selling. You've got shorts who want to bet on the market to go down. You've got, that's directional shorts who want to short it, not sell their Bitcoin. They want to short the futures. Or they want to hedge, so they hold Bitcoin and they want to short or buy puts, options, again, expecting, okay, maybe it goes down and I want to protect myself. So that's the second type. And then you have a third type, which is actual spot sellers, and people who just want to sell their Bitcoin and get out. The reason why I think we go higher is that I think we've cleared all the spot sellers for now, because we've had many, many, many opportunities. We've had 6 months. And we've had, clearly, spot sellers were here, spot sellers were here, spot sellers were here, here, and of course, all the way down. Germany were selling here, spot sellers there, spot sellers on this bounce, and we're not talking about here, because anyone spot selling there, of course, is probably dumb money, because they're selling the bottom. But each time it rallies up, spot sellers, spot sellers, spot sellers, spot sellers, sell all the way down, sell here, sell down, right? We've had 6 months of spot sellers actually clearing out their positions. How much is left to sell? Some. There's always going to be some. But is it going to be more than the reallocation and the hedges closing and all the other things I talk about? I don't think so. I think demand is going to outstrip supply here. So I don't think this is always a guessing game based on, it's based on flows, based on price action, and then just based on experience. Where do I think the spot sellers will come in aggressively again? I think they already did, and they did it correctly, and they did it very wisely to spot sell at this high and to spot sell all the way down. And there was fear about the Japanese yen carry trade and recession fears, and those fears have subsided. So is there a reason to panic and get out and fucking sell my spot now? I think, now let's just play logically. If you are a smart money spot seller, are you still waiting after 6 months? You could have spent, at any point in the last 6 months, you could have sold above current price. Fucking many times, right? Current price is here. Most of March, you were above that level. For about half of April, or a bit less, no, about half of April, you're above that level. For most of May and most of June, you're above that level. And for the end of July, you're above that level. Who would be waiting to sell their spot bags now? Right? Each time you come back up and up and up, there's fewer and fewer people to sell their spot. So it leaves me thinking, all right, I do think there's demand from people reallocating, demand from shorts closing, etc. And I don't think there's a huge amount of spot sellers. And what I do think is there will be shorts, right? Are people going to try and short this? Yes. But shorting the market, again, is for two reasons. Number one, you think it's going to go down. So you want to short because you think Bitcoin's going to reverse and go to new lows. And longs are dumb and they're getting trapped. The problem with that is you're fighting the trend. Current trend, big leverage liquidation, the biggest one we've had for over a year. Strong reclaim of the previous lows. Retesting towards those lows, holding, consolidating for 2 weeks, and then breaking higher. So you're fighting the trend. You're completely wrong to short here. If you're just looking at where is Bitcoin going right now? It's going low, high, higher low, higher high. It's going up. Doesn't mean that the shorts can't be right, but they are wrong in the current low time frame trend. So if people are shorting, saying, I think Bitcoin's going to 40k, fuck you, they're wrong right now. They could be right, but they're really not right until it goes back below 60. That's when you're actually consider this breakout a failure, and then those people will be correct. So the market is against them right now. Second type will be hedge shorts. So those people, like I was saying, they own Bitcoin, but they think maybe, or just they don't even own Bitcoin. They might just own crypto in general. They own whatever, but they want to short because they're uncertain about what happens next. They think there could be a pullback, and they want to protect. Again, similar to the spot selling, it's like how many times are you going to keep hedging your Bitcoin or continue to hedge your Bitcoin when it's tried to go lower and bounces, tried to go lower and bounces, tried to go lower and bounces? There's probably less of a reason to hedge your Bitcoin short now. If you're going to hedge it and you owned a bunch of Bitcoin from lower, you probably would wait until there's a failed breakout. Now, if we go back to 61, 61 and a half, 60, you probably see a lot of that hedge going on. If people were long from 50 or 53 or 55, 56, they might start hedging there or just sell. But they probably have to see some weakness first. So there's an absence of supply, and there is a not guaranteed, but there definitely is going to be some demand. There's guaranteed demand. Question is how much. I think the supply-demand balance is in favor of demand. And that's why I think we go higher. And it's really simple. If that's correct, you see this reflexive move, which means as it goes higher, people want to buy more for those different reasons, whether it's closing their hedges, which means they have to get out. And this is probably the biggest one. This is what usually drives our first major push once we break out, is if you're short Bitcoin for whatever reason, because you're bearish or because you think you wanted to hedge, the one thing everybody knows is you don't want to be short Bitcoin when it gets momentum. That's why these breakouts can continue and continue and continue with what seems like no pullback. Because as Bitcoin goes up, everybody has seen you need to be brain dead to not see what can happen when Bitcoin starts to get momentum. And that's why so often you see these first breakouts and bears come in and want to fade it, and it goes higher, and then it pulls back, right? And then it pushes here. and then it goes higher, and then it goes higher, and then it pulls back. Very common to see this kind of 3 push thing, right? First push here, it has a shallow pullback. People say, let's get back in into shorts, pushes again. Let's get back in, pushes again. Third push. Same thing here. We had that breakdown attempt in March 2023, then it pushes up. Bears say, let's short again. They're wrong. Hedges have to close, moves up. Third push, moves up, then we pull back. It doesn't have to be 3 pushes, but you can see the nature of Bitcoin as it rises, as these people close and push and push and push and push, they get squeezed out. And I think that that's what we're going to see here. And we've only just started. So probably it's going to at least grind higher towards 66, 68, maybe 70. Or in the hyper bull case, we consolidate for a bit and then just blast through it. That would be if we're truly bullish. The other side, if we're bearish. So this is the way I see it as most likely. Even if it's bearish, it goes higher. And if it's bullish, of course it goes higher. So in both scenarios, we probably go higher. Because if we're going to go lower, it will first squeeze the shorts and squeeze the shorts and squeeze the shorts and bait in longs before dropping. That probably takes us into this resistance above, somewhere around some of these levels, that order block in green, maybe the order block above in green, or just that zone in red. Then it drops. And of course, if we're bullish, similar kind of thing happens, except instead of dropping, we go higher. So, everything is pointing towards continuation. So what should you do? You know, you're feeling FOMO, you didn't catch the breakout for whatever reason, you're wondering how to get back in. Well, you have 2 choices. You can either get in now, or you can wait. If you get in now, you need to have a plan. Where are you wrong? That's all that matters in markets. Where am I wrong? Where do I think the market won't go back to? Where can it not go back to if we're correct? You could use a very simple view saying that, okay, if this breakout is to hold, it can very easily do this. It can go up, it can come back, it can do a standard support resistance flip where it comes back to that area and holds, and we consolidate, and then away it goes. Standard Bitcoin, breaks higher, consolidates, and then moves to new highs. At that point, you could wait for a perfect retest to rebuy, which you might not get, or you can buy and say, all right, if it goes back below 60, that's considered a failure, and if I buy here and it goes there, I sell. If I'm right, I sell when I'm wrong. And you have to be okay with that, because if that happens, the fear people have is, oh, but if I do that and then it goes like that, I'll be so angry. Sure, we'll just get back in. You have to be okay with getting back in. If you're going to get out, you have to be able to get back in. And if you're going to get back in, you have to be okay with selling. You have to say, I'm wrong somewhere. So much of trading gets overcomplicated by people who panic. And you panic in both ways. Panic buy and panic sell. You don't need to panic. If you're buying here, you're saying, I don't think it goes lower. Otherwise, I should wait. But if it does go lower, I'm obviously not going to buy here and sell on a tiny wick. I could buy here, it could go higher, it could also go back down, but as long as it stays above 62, I'm in. That's one simple logic. Also, there's always this feeling that you're going to miss out, that it's going to run away without you, that you're never going to get a pullback. The difference there is you need to wait for the next consolidation, regardless of what your approach is. Right? This same thing happened on the big breakout from 35k back in late 2023. This move caused FOMO, but it caused a lot of people to think, it's gone up only, it's going to pull back, maybe I'll buy here, I'll buy this retest. And that's a classic example. This retest never came. A lot of people were waiting for that retest and just went higher and higher and higher. So how do you actually account for that? At this time, that's all you need to see is consolidation. You just need to see price not go down. If price holds for long enough, then you can say, okay, it's not going to pull back. Now it might. You never know exactly what's going to happen. But the next consolidation is important. If it consolidates, whether it pulls back or goes or grinds higher, that will tell you what's happening. If I see Bitcoin doing this, if I see Bitcoin going in more of a slower but upwards fashion, that almost certainly confirms the bottom, and I don't think we go lower. Why? Because that's more of a sign of allocation. That's just people saying, okay, we need to get back in. Let's go. Let's fucking allocate. And this is bigger players. This is not dumb money. It's similar to your 2023 move. It rose up and it went into low volatility but kept rising. Grinding. That's a sign of allocation. That's a sign of people buying and buying and buying and buying. If it goes higher but with another big impulse, that will stoke FOMO. If you see Bitcoin blast up into 70, it's better to wait. Because at that point, the higher it goes, people will FOMO and leave behind lots of gaps. And then even if bullish, you're probably going to see it top out, pull back, you get some kind of pullback, you wait for that to form a higher low, and you buy in then. So you've got many different courses of action you can take here. You have to think about it in terms of probabilities. The probabilities are, we're going up. I think that's very, very likely. I'm literally long, so I am putting my money on it. I think we go higher. Question is, to where and when do we pull back? This is usually one of those areas where people are hesitant to buy now. And because they're hesitant to buy now, it means this level, almost certainly, let's say the daily close, this level, this level almost certainly gets revisited at some point. Now, usually what happens is, you don't want to buy here because you've seen the big move. And when you don't want to buy is often when you should buy, just from a psychology standpoint. But people are hesitant to do that because it doesn't feel right. They feel like they're buying on FOMO. But if you have a little bit of fear like that, it's actually not FOMO. FOMO is where the greed takes over. The fear of missing out is so strong you feel like you have to buy. This is actually one of those hesitation moments. So what often happens is they don't buy now, and then it goes up, and like, fuck, I should have bought, fuck, I should have bought, fuck, I should have bought, and then they buy, and then it goes right back to where it was, to that level, and that's actually a better place to get in. Retest. If you zoom this all the way in, we don't have any real attempt to sell off yet, right? So there hasn't been a strong sell-off attempt since the breakout because it only just happened. And I think that if it does come up higher, I think coming back towards this impulse candle to retest it would offer the best re-entry point, around that 64 if it grinds higher. So if you're patient, you'll almost certainly get a retest there. What you want to look at is the gaps, right? There's an area here, 62, that we had an impulse breakout from, which a lot of people will want to buy the retest. And that's the one I don't think people get. If it goes higher and we're bullish, I don't think we come back to there. I do think we pull back into the area, the general area, to 65 to 64, where people are like, oh, just a little bit lower, let's get that retest, and the retest doesn't come. So, patience. If you choose to buy here, you're probably buying at a good place for it to go higher, right? I think it goes up here before it goes down there. It doesn't mean that this is the best place to buy for the next year. It may well come up and come all the way back down, and we have to go for more chop. Don't forget that Bitcoin is just in a range of now it's in like 50 to 70, right? We've got all the way down to 50. We've got all the way up to 70, and we're towards the top end of that. So we're getting to a point where pullbacks would make sense. But then again, at these points where everyone's so used to pullbacks, the thing that makes sense is not always the thing that is the most optimal or the thing that's going to happen. So, chop, until the election, I still think the market's broadly going to chop. And you may see something like this, where it's wider ranges and pullbacks and wider range and pullbacks and wider range and pullbacks before a breakout. Right? We have move up, comes all the way back, big move up, all the way back, and it's wider volatility. It's a bit more uncertain, and then we actually get the breakout. Now, actual breakout, let me take all this shit off, and let's just look at the breakout. Because those paths, I don't have any path prediction here, right? I've told you the levels and all the areas and where I think that buying and selling makes sense. Where Bitcoin actually will break out from is when it clears all of these stops and all of these highs. And the first sign of that will be a reclaim of 70. And it gets above 70, that's your first positive shift, where you've reclaimed that breakdown level. And you're moving to a point, essentially, where at that point, you've got Bitcoin breaking out of a 6, 7, 8 month consolidation. And that should lead to new all-time highs and an extension, continuation. That's also going to need some shift. Trump winning the election will be one, Federal Reserve cutting rates, but also, really moving towards a easing monetary policy, which none of that's happened yet. Trump's not guaranteed to win. The election, obviously, is still 2 months away. And the Fed are going to start cutting rates, yes, but it's not like they're going to flood the markets with liquidity. So there's still a lot of what ifs there. You look over into the stock market, and it's right up near all-time highs, and people are like, oh, it's going to pull back, and it probably will pull back at some point. But crypto has decorrelated quite a bit in the last, few days, meaning stocks rallied first and rallied harder off the lows. Then stocks have slowed down and Bitcoin's pumped. That is a typical and pretty bullish. That's a pretty bullish sign in terms of the reallocation of capital. There was genuine fears with the Japanese yen carry trade. Could that have some systemic domino effect of negativity? We've had the recession fears, which don't seem to be coming to pass. Economic data seems to be okay for now. Got inflation coming lower. And so stocks rallied first because investors, TradFi, Wall Street, they will reallocate into stocks first. And they will just ease. Look at them. Crypto's all right. Like, just forget it, right? We don't need crypto. Maybe not, but I'm not sure. And then when stocks have their move up, crypto follows. It's not always the case crypto follows. In fact, often crypto leads, especially in sell-offs. But crypto following in this instance is a sign that now people are willing to step further down the risk curve and take on more risk and reallocate into some of these, what they would consider definitely riskier bets, of which Bitcoin is one. And you've seen gold going to all-time highs as well, and gold starting to slow down towards its all-time high. When I say slow down, going into some kind of consolidation rather than just a straight-up breakout, which again is good. So, overall, I think we're bullish. I've seen this many times before. It doesn't mean I'm right, but I've seen it, and I know that the feeling right now is people are afraid to get long, which probably means it goes higher. It does not mean that this is a great place to buy, but it does mean that we probably go higher first, because that's what's going to stoke FOMO, and after that we could drop back, right? So you could even just see it as simple as this. You could see it go higher, be like, fuck it again, comes back down, sweeps out today's low, shit, I'm going to get out, and it just chops a little bit sideways. That would be bullish. If we take out the 66 and we come back down to 63.5 and then back up, that's really bullish. Your actual bull market continuation doesn't start till 70, and you're going to have people waiting for that. Big players too. You're going to have a lot of allocation above 70. It's always a sense that, oh, well, I should buy now because if I buy, why wait to 70 if I can buy here? But that's, everyone's thinking that, right? Everyone thinks, oh, well, if 70 is bullish, why not buy 64? Then you think, why would people not buy 64? The reason why people would not buy 64 is because 64 has lots of overhead supply still. There's still resistance here and here and here. It leads me back to the point I said before. Why would people sell here? I don't think they would. But as we go higher, there's more incentive to sell as we get into resistance. So if you're long and you're in a long trade, I think the place to take profit, which I'll do with my swing trade, is if we get to 67, 68, I'll take profit on the swing trade portion. And I would wait. Because just like when we rallied up here into resistance, right? Instead of, if you were holding from here and you're seeing signs of slowing down here, you should be getting out. If you were long from here on this breakout and we come up into this resistance and you see signs of slowing down, you should be getting out. Profit taking will happen. You don't have to be there and guess, oh, this is going to be the one, this is going to be the one, this is going to be the one. You can just sell and rebuy when there's confirmation higher. That's my plan. And that's about it. My spot bags, I haven't bought back yet. I do have the Bitcoin bands crossing is exactly what I want to see. And probably this weekend, I will rebuy my spot bags. And it's what I said all the way back whenever I sold on the Friday before the crash. Sold at 63, and I said, I'm happy to buy back at 65 when there's confirmation. That was whether it was a quick reclaim or even a slow one like this. I am more than happy. Obviously, I've got long exposure anyway, but in terms of spot bags, there's no rush. There's never a rush. Even in these seemingly endless up-only moves, there's never a rush. When you get these moves, right, you get these periods of FOMO. Like the FOMO, think of how much FOMO was felt here. And even then, there was no rush. Why? That was January. All the way over in March, we came back, retested. And it went higher and higher and higher. But it came back. And retests just almost always seem to happen. We move here in July, big rally off the lows. People miss that rally. Then it goes higher and higher and higher. And I can't help it, I have to get in. What does it do? Comes back, retest. Retests will almost always happen. Question is, will it retest all the way back down here or not? Probably not. Probably goes higher, make people FOMO, drops back to where the FOMO began. This is where the FOMO began. And so let me again wipe all of this and finish off this video with a very simple idea. The FOMO did not really begin here. People were saying, no, it's going to reject 62, it's going to reject these highs. It's now, with strong daily close. And if we push and push and push, the FOMO began here. And that's the kind of area you want to watch, whether it goes up and up, wherever it goes to. Watch for it to come back into that area at some point in the future. Probably a while away, by the way, just like we showed in these other examples. Not right away, that was January. Then 2 months later, it came back because it needs to bait people in and make people think it's not going to pull back. It's not going to pull back, and then it pulls back. And the patient gets rewarded. July, it's never going to pull back. September, 2 months later, it pulls back. So, is it going to be 2 months again? If so, you're looking at October as the area, right before the election. Maybe that's it. So we'll see. I can't stress this enough. Retests, retests, retests. They will come, especially when you think they won't. You just got to be patient. So if you're trading it, trade the upwards momentum, probably as a swing trade. And if you're waiting for spot entries, and we do go higher, you're almost certainly going to get a retest of 64, 65, 66. And that's it. GM.